Action! What did you do during the war?
During the war I was in the medical corps. When in 1938 it looked the way everything was planned. Hitler had thousands of tanks, thousands of soldiers and hundreds of aircraft, and Britain had nothing at all. So we should have known then that something was going to happen, right?
Where were you when you heard the announcement of war?
I was in Edinburgh. And about half an hour after, the Prime Minister at that time was a Mr. Chamberlain, and he went through across to Germany, and he stood with his dress suit, an umbrella and bowler hat. He didn't have them on right up, standing among all the German officers with their, their Iron Crosses and other medals, and he was standing there with his dress suit. It looked a wee bit ridiculous.
What were you told about Hitler?
Hitler was supposed to be a man. He brought the German people, when the First World War finished, it was governed by American and Russian and British troops for a long time, and finally they got a pact signed and decided to get rid of the occupying troops. So Hitler got Germany to his side, and he got them all working. Making guns, ships, and build up all his armaments. This is what he considered. But everybody was working, so the Germans felt good about him. But that's what he was working on.
Did you really think Hitler could invade Britain?
I really thought it would. I can't understand why he didn't.
Where was your nearest air raid shelter?
There was one. And I can't know when, but I lived in West Bowling Green Steet. I knew where there was one and where I stayed when I come home and leave. That was in a back green at Easter Road. But there wasn't one, to my knowledge, in West Bowling Green Steet.
And did you ever have to use that one in the neighbour's garden?
I never had to use it. My gran had to use it.
Did you have to carry a gas mask at all times?
Yes, but when the war first started, we had nothing at all. And this is Germany would never have started the war if France wasn't bad. They had what we call was a magical line, was a great line that would have maybe stopped the Germans. But the King of Belgium refused to let it be continued through Belgium. And the result was the Germans bypassed the Maginot Line and didn't face up to it, and they come through Belgium. And so this is how they got into France.
Do you remember the bombing of the Fourth Road Bridge?
Yes, I remember the bombing of the Fourth Bridge, yes. That was one of the first raids in Britain.
What countries did you go to and when?
Well, first of all, I joined an RAMC depot in Dalkeith in New Battle Abbey. From there, I was posted to Aldershot.
What year did you join up?
I joined in the 13th of June 1940.
And how old were you then?
I was 26.
Did you ever think you were going to die?
No. But from leaving Aldershot, I went to a place called Brookwood, which was in Surrey, just about 4 miles out of Woking. I was there for a while, and then I was posted back to Peebles Hydro, which was then about 150-bedded hospital taken over by the army. It was no longer a hotel, it was turned into a hospital. I was there for about 9 months, and from there I went to Watford in London. And from Watford in London I went to Birmingham. From Birmingham I went to Didcot, where they were preparing a convoy of an hospital to be taken across the channel. And I was there for 3 weeks preparing about, maybe see, 1,500 weight, 1,000 weight lorries with the stuff we would equip to form a hospital. Then from there I went back to Birmingham, And I always remember going back to Birmingham from Didcot, there were about 30 of us, and this officer we were with, he commandeered 3 of the carriages or 4 of the carriages, and the people who were in the carriages had to get out so we could take over the carriages. And I thought, I was a bit annoyed about that, because I think we could have all close together. So I don't know what happened to the people who had to leave the carriages, and then we got the 3 carriages to ourselves then.
How did rationing affect you?
Rationing never affected, not when you're in the army. Your food stuff was pretty. We were better fed, I would say, than what the civilians were being.
Can I just ask you, sorry, what countries you went to overseas as
Right.
well? And
Well,
what you did in the war as well?
Well, after I left, after Dick got back to Birmingham, from Birmingham I went down to Littlehampton, which is a short distance from Southampton. And that's where I saw the first flying bomb that ever came, a flying bomb came across. This was a bomb, it made a noise like a motorbike. It was just pop, 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 and it had a flame at the back. And when that flame went out, this craft died, a bomber, it died. And later on in the war, sometimes the RAF fighter pilots used to go and try and guide it away from the centre of sight, touch it with their wings and guide it away so it wouldn't have landed at sea. And then across the channel from Southampton to Bayeux, Normandy. I landed in Normandy about 2 o'clock in the morning. And we were told to lie still because I didn't know if the place was mined or not. So to lie where we were, and if we wanted a wee-wee, we would have a wee-wee where we were and not move about, because the officers didn't know if the place had been cleared of mines. And that was at 2 o'clock in the morning.
So how long did you have to lie there for?
Lay there till daylight.
Gosh.
And then 2 of the officers, a colonel and a lieutenant, they went through all the paths all round about, walked, and had us lying there. So they took a chance. They tried all the paths, walking back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. If there had been any mines there, they could have been killed. But it made us stay where we were, and they did all the walking through. And it was very good.
How long were you in a hospital in France for then? Was that a hospital tent then? Was that one you sort of built up there?
Well, we were under canvas patrol tents. It held 6, but the hospital was about 8 marquee tents, big marquee tents. That was us. Well, the operating theatre was a marquee tent, big marquee tent. We put them up, and the very first we landed there, and about a week after we landed, we got a lot of wounded, and there wasn't enough room in the wards, so we had to put the wounded on stretchers between the beds to accommodate. That was fun.
And did you get German prisoners of war to treat as well?
There were German prisoners among them, the blind Germans, and other blind people, blind soldiers. They came in a single file usually, and they hand on each other's shoulder, marched in because they were blind. If they hadn't been blind, they wouldn't have been coming in that way. But we had wounded German prisoners, but then we had guards round the tent.
And then from France, where did you go?
For France, I went we moved up, as the army moved in, we moved to Belgium, moved to Brussels. And
what year was that? Sorry?
that had been 1944, end of 44.
So this was sort of after D-Day and stuff, when
After
people
D-Day,
started sort of
after
reclaiming
D-Day.
Europe for the Allies.
I missed D-Day. I landed after D-Day. I landed after D-Day. Moved up to Brussels, and Germany had found another secret weapon. He had the V2, which was just a rocket that came out the sky. You didn't hear it or nothing, it just come out the sky, and there were a lot of them dropped in Brussels. It wasn't like the V1. The V1, you heard it coming, it made such a noise. But the rocket just appeared out the sky and dropped all anywhere.
Were you in London during the Blitz?
I was in London. I arrived in London when we moved from New Battle Abbey, Dalkeith, to London. We just got off the train and the siren sounded. So this warden says, you lads, into the shelter, into the shelter. And we're in the shelter and I saw a policeman and he said, excuse me, so I said, we're supposed to arrive in Aldershot tonight and we'll not make it. I said, where's the nearest army billet from here? He says, if you go up there on Clapton Common, there's a unit, and it was an anti-aircraft unit where there were 4 guns. And the officer says, well, I'll put you up for the night, we'll feed you. But he says, you'll not sleep, because all night the anti-aircraft guns were back in Hollies. We never slept. Yeah. So we're there till the next morning. Until the sirens went off, when the siren all clear went, the all clear was just a consistent whistle. The other one was ooh, ooh, ooh. But the other clear was just one whistle all the time, and that was all clear. And then you were.
How many people do you know that died in the war?
When did you? Ooh. I said, no. Oh, I know a lot of men that died, but no, I didn't see it. I didn't there when they died. I know a lot of men were killed in the war. Oh, I was saying what they say. I was in 8 or 9. I was in a ward where this man was he was badly burned, his face was burned, and all this, but of course they let the air get to the burns. He was blinded, and I said, how you doing? He says, not one. He says, you've got a Leith accent. I said, well, I was born on Leith. Oh, he said, I lived in Dalmeny Street. I says, well, when I come on leave, I go to stay in a house in Seafield Road, my mother-in-law's house, and at time I'm going to leave. And he said to me, and he says, your voice is familiar. I said, where did you work? He says, I worked in Haste Cash Stores in Bell. I said, I didn't recognise it. So did I. It was one of my neighbours. His name was Jackie Bridges. And he didn't recognise him because he was blind. But I didn't recognise where all the burns were. And I remember writing a letter home to his, because he couldn't write. I wrote a letter home to his parents. Another one was lying on a stretcher, and he says, you've got a Leith accent. I said, aye. He says, what's her name? I says, Combe. Combe? He says, have you got a cousin called Combe, and he's got a brother called Peter and a sister called Lola? I said, that's my cousin. He says, I've just left him up the line there. So that was two that recognised the Leith accent.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know any children that were evacuated?
Any?
Children that were evacuated?
Oh, a lot of children were evacuated. A lot of children were evacuated. Oh, from, sometimes not very far away, as long as it was away from a big city. But a lot of children, some children went to Canada. Some children went to Canada. And they would used to stay with relatives in Canada. But I think a lot of them had pretty hard times because in a lot of cases they were used for their labour. And it was cheap labour for some of the people that they wanted to stay with. It was not just a holiday for a man.
What were your living conditions like?
Well, not too bad at all. Under the carcass was bad. Long about, as I said, when the Germans come over at night, the anti-aircraft opened up fire, and the Germans used it. We had an hospital, north, east, south, west, was a big red cross on a white sheet, pegged down in the ground, so everybody from there would know it was an hospital. So the Germans said, well, this is a safe way to go. You always found there's an ammunition dump and a fuel dump, always awfully near where I don't know if they said it happened in the First World War II. It seemed awfully funny there was always an ammunition dump and a petrol dump very near an hospital. Well, they thought the Germans wouldn't come across because of the hospital, but the Germans used the hospital as a sort of safe passage. But the boys with the anti-aircraft, they didn't worry about that. They just stopped the fire. So a lot of shrapnel was coming down, not from the Germans, but from the anti-aircraft. And we used to pick up in the morning.
What do you think it would be like if we had lost the war?
Terrible. 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 Hitler was a terrible man. Hitler's excuse for going, the war started because Hitler invaded Czechoslovakia, and his idea was that the Germans in Czechoslovakia were having such a hard time. It was his place to go and relieve them. And we'll let it happen, and Britain and France didn't do nothing, but they promised Czechoslovakians if anything that happened, they would do something. And at that time, Czechoslovakia thought that Britain and France had betrayed them, had let them down. So the next thing, when Chamberlain, the Prime Minister, come back from meeting Hitler, he stood on the top of the steps and he had a white paper. We will have peace in our time. Mr. Hitler didn't come Adolf. Mr. Hitler has given me a guarantee he has no more territorial claims anywhere in Europe. That was all right, so everybody was happy. That's all right. And then he suddenly decided that the German people in Poland, who lived in Poland, were getting a hard time, so he decided he was going into Poland to help the German nationals that were living in Poland. And Chamberlain says, if you go into Poland, we'll go to war. And on the 3rd of September 1939, he moved into Poland, and Mr. Chamberlain just says, right, at, I think it was 11 o'clock on the Sunday morning of the 3rd of September, we are now at war with Germany. And the sirens went half an hour after it, but nobody bothered because they never experienced it. But later on, when the sirens went, everybody went to shelter.
How many other medics did you know?
How many are medics? Oh, hundreds of medics. The med I was sorry for was just after D-Day, the surgeons. They must have worked about a 20-hour day. They never stopped. The patients all came in. There's about a wee report, had a label saying what their complaint was, and these surgeons had to decide which was the one that had to be looked after first. Big responsibility. We can't take him and leave him just now, we'll take this one. It's a big responsibility.
Where were you on D-Day?
D-Day? Yeah, I was in France. No, I was on my way to France. I was coming from, 3 days after D-Day, I sailed from France because we had an escort of destroyers, 3 destroyers going around, it was a convoy going. But we landed at a certain part, we were going to set up the hospital, and that was in Bayeux in Normandy. That was in Normandy.
When did you get home?
I got home December 45. December 45. Come home.
And how old were you then?
Pardon?
How old were you then?
I'd be 31. 31.
So in that 6 years, what was the longest you ever went without seeing your family?
Well, when I was in Brussels, I got a leave from Brussels. One leave from Brussels. But then I never saw the family from, that'd be August 45 till December 44, August 45, December 44, 45. So, from August 44 till December 45. That was the longest, about over a year now.
What do you hope kids will take from learning about World War II?
Well, I just hope that they never have to look through another one. Because there's nothing glorious about war. So many innocent people die. And even our boys, bombers went across, they couldn't say, we'll bomb that place, we'll make sure we don't kill any civilians. They killed a lot of their bombs went up on hospitals and schools, just like what the Germans did. That's the danger of war. If it was just soldiers fighting each other, that'd be nothing at all. That'd be, you're trained to fight. But then a lot of innocent people, babies, grannies and grandads, all get killed who had nothing to do with who were innocent or anything at all. And that's one of the things war is terrible for. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay?